Good evening and welcome to This Week in Joe's Basement. I'm Joe. And this is my basement. So, This Week in Joe's Basement, we have our third viewer call-in show, our opportunity to hear from you people out there in television land. I'll explain more about that in a minute. But first, some viewer mail. All right. So, first off, we got another letter from ongoing series of criticism from our friend Him, our letter writer who refuses to identify himself by name. And he writes that he saw this other show on Access, which featured an appearance by a member of the Aryan Nation, and he wants me to do a rebuttal on this show, which I have not seen. Okay. I got another letter here from King Zeke, who is familiar to experienced viewers of This Week in Joe's Basement as King Zeke Donald Billingsley of Planet Zarkum Frolinger. And this week he sends me a greeting card. In fact, it's a Christmas card. It's indicated by the red. And along with this holiday greetings, he sends me, I believe he says, warm wishes, and a pornographic photograph, which I am not allowed to display on television. And this note the woman is dressed in red, indicating Christmas spirit. But anyway, I'm not allowed to show that on television. All right, we got another letter here from Hal the Looper, who is King Zeke's brother. And writes in rather large block handwriting that he doesn't like yuppies because, as he puts it, fucking yuppie mobile, he thinks his shit smells like love potion number 9. Well, I sympathize, but nothing I can do about it. All right, so on to the main part of this week's show, our third viewer call-in show, Spot the Liar. As you can see on the bottom of your screen are 2 telephone numbers of 2 payphones. So don't call them after the show is over because there won't be anybody there. And you can call these numbers at any time during the show to reach the producers of This Week in Joe's Basement and tell us, well, anything that's on your mind, really. What you liked, what you didn't like, what you'd like to see. And to further provoke you to call this week, we provided a couple of thought exercises for you. The first one we call Spot the Liar. You'll see testimony from 3 drunken partygoers, 3 fellows who attended a party last Saturday and who claimed to have attended a party last Saturday, I should say. And you'll see their testimony. And the exercise is to spot the liar this week on Joe's Basement. All right. In addition, periodically throughout the show, we will be reminding you of various moments from the history of This Week in Joe's Basement in the form of flashbacks. And what we'd like you to do is to call in and vote on your favorite performers, your favorite skits, your favorite topics of This Week in Joe's Basement. Things you'd like to see more of, things you'd like to see less of. Tell us what you thought, what you ate for breakfast. Call in and spot the liar this week in Joe's Basement.
So, hi there. My name's Mo, and I went to a party tonight with a couple of my friends, Gus and Woody, who are guys I've known since high school. And I don't live in this neighborhood anymore. And the people who are in this neighborhood, it was a University of Chicago party. And the people who go to the University of Chicago, the U of C is primarily a Republican institution. It's pretty right-wing on the whole, but there's this sort of subculture of these sort of hippie love shit type people, you know, these sort of 60s throwback types. And they all hang out together, and it's a pretty inbred group. And they have these parties, and it was one of these parties that I went to today, and I've been to a number of them in the past, having spent all my life living here until I moved up north recently. But this was my first one in about 6 months. And the first one I went to with at least one of my friends who had been living out of town. And it was interesting. It was in a house, which was a co-op. There were about 15 people living there. It was a pretty small house. It was hard to tell. they have some pretty sophisticated systems. I could see on some people's doors, you know, there are computerized billing statements and how much they owe for room and board and so forth. But that's neither here nor there. I understand, although I don't know for a fact, that the party was supposed to be a inappropriately dressed party. So there was one woman who was wearing a pair of blue jeans and a bra, and most of the women were wearing leotard tops, about half of them, which was really strange. I didn't understand that. Nobody could explain it to me. Oh, that feels good.
Are you? Fascinating. I didn't ask for candy bar.
No, I asked for cigarettes. No, I mean, I didn't ask for cigarettes. I asked for...
Hey. Hey, are you listening to me?
Why would you do such a thing?
Oh, those feet. Oh.
So we went over to the party and kind of climbed up the staircase inside the house. And this staircase kind of turned a corner, and there was a room where people were hanging out. And it was a small room, and a lot of people in it. So what happened is we all got kind of bunched up in the hallway because we couldn't fit into the room. And so we just stand there and smoking cigarettes and talking for a while. And Mo and Woody are just kind of wandering around exploring. It's like the thing they like to do when they come into a new house is check everything out, you know. Like go in the kitchen, look around, and the bathroom, search out all the closets and stuff. So you should remember that next time you invite them. And I had this big bag of pot with me, so I was carrying this big bag of pot and like rolling joints every once in a while, you know, because it's a good icebreaker. You see someone rolling a joint in your house, and you're thinking, well, who is this motherfucker, right? Well, so I was sitting there rolling joints, and someone would talk to me, and smoking them, and getting pretty stoned. And after a while, you know, a friend of ours pops up and says, hey, we're playing in the basement, why don't you come down? I was like, wow, great, the basement. Maybe there'll be some alcohol there. So we went down the basement, and sure enough, there was some beer there. I was happy to see the beer, and it was a good beer too. It was Gills. Gills the beer that never goes flat, which is true. You could, you know, it comes in big jugs, and you can pour it and pour it and pour it, and let it sit out with, you know, without the cap, and it would still foam up, right, if you shook it. Pretty amazing.
Moonblob, Moonblob, used when Moonblob, 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 independent Moonblob, Moonblob eliminated Moonblob, 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 Moonblob.
White people, they straight, you know. They just like me, you know.
Okay.
One knight in shining armor, that's what it says right here. Nothing about a brain.
Gus and Mo and myself went to a party tonight. It was at a cooperative. Invitation said on it, improper attire required. And it's kind of strange. I don't know, it's a regular Hyde Park party. You know, there are a couple girls running around in their bras with buttons that said improper attire and things. And, God, I haven't been to a party around this area in a long time. Well, that's a Gills bear. Gills bear never goes flat, but, I was there to pick up women. Girls, students, young girls.
The story so far.
like I'm just this guy.
For the benefit of those of you who have never worked in the construction industry.
Delving further into the brain. Hey, just trying to be neighborly.
So, you know, I have a regular girlfriend, and I like her a lot. But still, you go to a party like this, and there are women, you know, and it looks like it's a show us your breasts party. And, of course, you know, your libido kicks into overdrive, and you can't help it. And it was interesting. There were a lot of people there, a lot of people I knew, and a lot of people I didn't know. And I spent about... My evening was divided pretty much into thirds. About a third of the time was spent sitting in a corner, drinking, and playing the kazoo, you know, along with the band. About a third of the evening was spent hanging out with my friends, with Gus and Woody, and chilling out and talking to them, especially since I hadn't seen one of them in a while. And about a third of the time was spent, of course, scamming on women. And it was interesting because there were a lot of women there. And many of them, in fact, almost all of them, were very pretty. They were very friendly. They were very sweet. I was talking to them, having a good time, learning who they were, what they were doing. They were almost entirely all UFC related, since this was a University of Chicago party. But although they were friendly, the one unifying factor there was they all had boyfriends, most of whom were not there.
How can someone who has asserted affair
what do I think about men? They're boys.
Went to the basement and looked around, and we found a dartboard. So I talked to Woody. I said, "Hey, Woody, you know, this is a great dartboard. Why don't we play darts?" And we're sitting there on the floor, so we just stand back a couple paces and toss the darts in there. It was kind of interesting. It was okay, but we wanted to be about eye level, so we picked up the dartboard, hung it on a little hook on a little gas meter. That was kind of cool. So we were throwing darts at the dartboard, throwing darts around, throwing darts at each other. I have a leather jacket with some bounces off and stuff. And it was kind of cool. But it got kind of boring after a while. The band was starting to play and people were dancing and getting all crowded and hot. And it was like, fuck this. There were lots of women around too, which I took a keen interest in. So I was kind of scouting out. How you do that? You kind of look at everyone and just kind of size them up and see which ones you think you'd like to talk to and which ones you don't think you like to talk to, and who's talking to who, and all that kind of thing. So I played that little game for a while, a social game. And I was getting kind of sick of Woody, actually. He was kind of starting to bug me. He kept insisting on playing, and I really didn't feel like it. He was winning too, which kind of pissed me off. So I said, well, fuck this. I think I'll find someone to talk to.
It was just one of those impulses I couldn't resist.
I'll be glad. I'll be glad. I'll be happy.
Fuck you. Who died and made you king anyway, huh?
You think that would lend itself to people being called spics and niggers and queers and wops and stuff like that all the time.
She's so sumptuous.
I was talking to this girl called Kate. God, she was really cute, pretty blonde. Nice face. She was about 22, and BA in English. And she worked at a local newspaper. So it was Mo kept coming up. Every time I'd start talking to her, he'd come up and start talking to her too. And I hate competition. I hate it when Mo comes and competes, But she had this nice necklace on. It was a turquoise and silver. It was kind of a pyramid pattern, square-shaped, and my aunt in Arizona has a lot of nice pieces like that, and I started talking about jewelry, and we started talking for a while, and we got into other things, and what we did, and she's a copywriter for this local newspaper, and she's really cute. Yeah, but she's got this boyfriend who was there, kept nudging me, standing in the background, making ugly faces at me or some stuff. Well, she's really cute, really friendly. When I went to the bathroom, she was up on the second floor with him, kind of smiled. Said hi as I walked by, and started kissing it, but, they never stopped me before.
Hey you! Hey you with the screwdriver! Got a cigarette, man? Wake up! Wake the fuck up!
Blob, moon, 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 blob.
So, I was talking to them, and I was having a good time. Just sort of fooling around, playing the field as it were, even though I don't think I'd actually have done anything with them. But the guys I was with, Gus and Woody, were doing the same thing too. And even though I knew that these girls had boyfriends and they wouldn't do anything with them, I still figured I'd have a little fun. I like fucking off in public. I like being obnoxious. So I'd see, Woody was sitting there with this girl, and I'd come up and I'd just go around and mess up the two of them and drive her off just for the hell of it. It was a nice party. It was a lot of fun. we all got pretty shit-faced and we're drinking Gills, this wonderful stuff. It comes in gallon jugs and recycled apple cider jugs. And it's got a chemical additive in it, so it won't go flat. And it's great stuff because you can open up a gallon jug and let it sit for weeks. You can drink half of it, put it in the trunk of your car for 3.5 weeks, and get it up to 90-degree temperatures, put it in the freezer, chill it out, and it'll still taste exactly the same, which is no taste whatsoever because of all the chemicals in it. But it's great party beer because you can drink shitloads of it and get really fucked up like I am right now. And have a good time.
I really honestly thought I loved the guy, you know, just because, you know, you do. I mean, you just think you do at 16 years old and you think you're in love and all this, but you're not really.
No.
Sit down.
Why?
Sit down in the chair.
No.
Do as I say, sit down.
I will not sit down.
Hi. One night in shining armor, please.
This was just heaven. And you know, I felt so sick. I was going to throw up, but I thought that would be embarrassing.
So I was like, well, fuck this. I think I'll find someone to talk to. And at that minute, Jessica came in. It's a woman I've known for about 6 or 7 years. Aha! Some conversation, you know. I was spent all this time with, you know, 2 men working in Omaha, Nebraska for 2 weeks, and I wanted some, you know, sort of feminine company, a little change of pace. So I stepped out with Jessica and talked to her and smoked some cigarettes and a couple joints outside. You know, it's very exciting. And I kind of forgot all about Woody and Woody and Mo, you know. Anyway, so I was talking to Jessica a lot, and out of my eye, every once in a while I see, like, Woody come up and talk to me or look at me kind of strangely and then walk away, like walk into the basement to see more music or walk around, you know. He was never really talking to anyone. Well, I did actually see him talk to this woman that had very big cheeks, and I was kind of thought it was humorous because she seemed really interested in him. And it was funny because actually I don't think, you know, Woody doesn't really get along very well. Women don't like him, so I'm kind of surprised to see someone actually go out of their way to talk to him. But, you know, I don't want to be mean to Woody or anything, but, you know, I think he's kind of, you know, he's kind of slimy a little bit. Anyway. But he's a good guy. A good guy, yeah. Really good guy. You know, it's like a brother. Just tells you what I'm like.
Most of my best friends are straight.
It's a nice restaurant, and they serve malls.
So Gus took off with this girl I used to see. In fact, Sarah came. Sarah came to the party with this girl I used to see. And she was there, her current boyfriend anyway, was out of town for the weekend or something. And she came here with Sarah, who, you know, is kind of cute. And they haven't seen her in 2 years, and I don't remember ever seeing her in my entire lifetime, but it's been 2 years, I'm sure, at least. And she came with this girl I used to see. And it's kind of strange, you know. She came with this girl I used to see, and this other girl I used to see, and I'm interested in her. Maybe I shouldn't be interested in people that hang out with people I used to see at one point or another, you know. Maybe it'll never work out. But, you know, who's saying no?
My rights? I know my rights, Officer O'Brien.
I mean, he popped them off or whatever, you know, and then he kills himself.
Quickly, there's no time to lose.
Oh. And I paid him, but he couldn't take the money with his other hand because he just had a stump.
So Woody and I had been playing our kazoos, doing some duets. We'd got Strangers in the Night down really well. It sounds really silly with one harmonic, with one of these things. But with two, you get a great harmony, and it sounds really good. And we were supposed to jam there. We were going to get up on stage and play with one of the bands, an impromptu gig afterwards, but it didn't work out. But on the whole, it was fun. You know, we all got really shit-faced. Woody especially was falling all over himself. I mean, he'd been drinking. He started off with this Gills beer that won't go flat, and that ran out before somebody made another Gills run. So he was hitting the Sunset Grain alcohol, which is like 180 proof with almost pure booze. Excuse me. All this great stuff. And he was just like, you know, this girl would come by wearing this leotard top and he'd be sitting there. If her ass was a hamburger, I would die if I didn't take a great big bite. I mean, he's a really funny guy, you know. He's not exactly the person for heart-to-heart. If I had a daughter, you know, I'd forbid her from marrying him. But he's indispensable in a party situation, you know. He's just totally out of bounds. The guy just does not know any limits. So, in parties, he's lots of fun. He was fun to hang around with. He was getting trashed, playing the kazoo, trying to pick up all these women. Whereas Gus was being a little mellower, seeing his friends.
Please, 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 please don't eat my brain.
Yeah, I keep a couple of them loaded in the house, and like naturally, everybody does, I would imagine.
So then I kind of lost track of him. I mean, my mind was wasted from all the dope and stuff and all the beer I was drinking, and I was kind of like wandering around, and you know, I try to speak, and like only 4 words come out, and you know, my eyes are always darting about strangely. It was going to be kind of weird. So I lost track of time, and this blues band came and played for a while, and I got into that. You know, blues, great. You know, made me feel like I was back home in Chicago. And it was kind of interesting because I really live in Portland. Actually, I'm just visiting. You know, it's just a big kind of shindig, and it was great being back with old buddies back in Chicago. Excuse me. Okay, so where was I? So after a while, talking to Jessica a little bit, and then Jessica went off to the bathroom, and I was talking to this woman, Laura, I've known from high school. I talked to her for a little bit too, and she was really nice, really nice. Then Woody came over, and we started talking about guts, you know, beer bellies, right? And you know, Woody and Mo, they both came over, and we were just like showing our guts off, because Woody has this huge gut, you know, his white t-shirt and this white dress shirt and a tie, right, and his guts spills out of his pants. So he's sitting there like, oh, trying to suck it all in, like, look at that chest I have, look at this, I've been working out, right? And we all thought it was really humorous, of course, because when, you know, his face was turning blue and stuff, and we finally couldn't hold his breath any longer, his whole gut would just spill out, you know, into the floor, just like, blood, like that. So, yeah, that was kind of, I teased him about that, you know.
I mean, actually, if I thought about it, I'd rather have been an actress.
So this other girl came up and started talking to me. She was, her name was Sarah, and she said, "You used to do tours in Chicago movies. You're a friend of mine." She named her friend Faye, and said, "Yeah, I met you when Faye was living in the dorms, and you know, and this and that." And I said, "Well, you know, I don't remember you in the least bit. I've never seen you before, so I'm sorry. And so we started talking, and, you know, certainly wasn't remembering. We had a couple drinks, and we drank some. And so I said, of course I remember you. You're doing much better in school than you were before. And she said, yeah, I am doing a lot better. And I said, great, I know it was getting you down before, and, you know, you were having a couple problems and everything. And she was just like, yeah, you're right. But I'm doing much better now. It's been 2 years, and everything's going fine. And I said, some bullshit. And we talked some more, and she brought some other stuff up, and she said, you don't remember me at all, do you? I said, how do you know that? I said, well, I don't know, but you don't remember me at all. You were just making that stuff up before. Well, I met you about 2 years ago, and I figured you were a freshman or sophomore in college, and you probably weren't doing too well, and you had to be doing better now, else you wouldn't be at this school, you know. Well, you're totally right. I wouldn't be at the school if I hadn't been doing better. And so she is, and now everything's good. And so I want to go back there and get her number, but, you know, I'll see her again.
So here goes my buddy. Ta-da!
Is this a typical length of time for you to have a boyfriend for?
No, it's not.
Usually they last a little longer.
Yeah, at least a week.
Hold on, I've forgotten the dog food.
You know, I think I'm going to go back and get Sarah's number. She's really cute. You know, I think I'm going to go back and get Kate's number, because she's really cute. You know, I think I'm going to go back and get all these girls' numbers, because they're all really cute.
I watched This Week in Joe's Basement because it's deep and meaningful.
One reason why a lot of kids cut is because either the class is boring or they can't get along with the teacher.
Thou art more lovely and more temperate.
Right. Okay. So, well, it's almost midnight, so you can stop calling now, because we're not going to be at the phones anymore. And, oh, spot the liar. Right. Well, actually, all three of those guys are telling the truth. They all really did attend this party, and their accounts were factual in every detail. So I lied. Sorry. Little twist there. Anyway, you probably figured that out. So, next week, we'll respond to these phone calls. We'll air the most interesting calls, and perhaps we'll do some skits in response on the next episode of This Week in Joe's Basement. See you next week. Bye-bye.